Welcome back to Hustle and Harmony. I'm Julia.
And I'm Emily.
We are back. We are actually shooting today from Connecticut, where our older sister Kristen lives, and where we got to just meet our brand new, sweet baby nephew.
He's perfect.
He's literally perfect. I feel like that's for sure what we're going to start this podcast episode off with, and then I really want to dive into just one of the things that Hustle and Harmony we've had to deal with a lot in both of our careers. It's been difficult, is trying to figure out how to maintain our health.
Mental and physical.
But really physical health being a topic that we have completely different issues when it comes to maintaining that. So I think it'll be fun to just kind of cover both of those things. But first, how was your experience meeting your brand new baby nephew?
I mean, it was perfect. I walked in and saw him and Kristen. I gave Kristen a hug. And it was so sweet because I was like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. And then Kristen just starts bawling. And she was
Those
like,
hormones are crazy.
My hormones. But it was really so sweet. I mean, I got to hold him on the couch, and that's whenever I cried. But I just held him there for like an hour, and he was really sleepy whenever I met him. So he was just like passed out the whole time. And then the next day, yesterday, when we were hanging out with him, he was wide awake, which was really cute.
He has the most intoxicating blue eyes. They're just this deep blue. And he one thing we have just learned, I didn't know this, but babies apparently can't see very well. So they can't see very far, and it's only black and white at first, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. We're learning so much about babies and pregnancy from our sister. But it was wild to just watch him make eye contact. And then you lock eyes with this little baby, and you just think about experiencing the entire world for the first time ever. Yeah. Every person you meet obviously is new, but air, light, watching him squint when it's too bright in the room.
That's what I was going to say is we both were sitting in the same spot on the couch when we held him, and we're right under this light bulb. And so anytime he'd open his eyes, he would squint and close them again. So we finally turned the lights off so he could open his eyes up.
So cute. He's also really well behaved. And babies, I don't know yet. We'll find out, I guess. But I don't know at what age they actually can form tears. Baby Jacob can't form tears yet. So he just cries, and his eyes will look a little bit glossy, but they won't cry.
Yeah, no tears will come out.
No tears will come out yet. I guess it's just his little ducts don't work yet. And it's wild because my mom, obviously having 3 kids, she's just spewing all this knowledge at us every time we have a question. And she was talking about how babies sometimes eventually form maybe bumps on their nose or their skin, and it's because their pores are figuring out how to work for the first time. Yeah. And there's just so much that happens with new life and a new baby. How is it seeing Kristen as a mom for the first time?
I mean, it's unreal. It's so whoa.
Whoa!
Why are there fireworks behind us?
I ship the fireworks though. I don't know what just happened.
That's crazy. That's in the new FaceTime thing where if I thumbs up, it puts a little thumbs up bubble. Anyways, sorry. If you're not watching the YouTube, you can't see what we're talking about. But fireworks just came up behind us in the 4th of July screen. Yeah, anyways, that was wild. But it's Kristen is morphing into this whole new badass version of herself, and she's in this new era of being a mom. And it's just making me ever more aware of how amazing and hard it is to be a woman and how much we have to handle. And obviously it's the Olympic trials just happened, so I just watched a bunch of athletes compete and qualify, and this one athlete, Elle St. Perrier, I mean, she's an absolute badass, and she won the 5K in an epic sprint to the finish in the last 100, and then I'm pretty sure she got second in the 1500. So, I mean, the range is unreal. She's amazing. Her coach literally was she should get MVP of the meet for these performances, because there's a prelim and a final for the 5K, and then there's a prelim, a prelim, and a final for the 1500.
That's so many Ks to run.
Yeah, so she ran 2 5Ks and 3 1500s.
Too many Ks.
And anyways, she just had her baby boy, I'm pretty sure, over a year ago. 13, 14 months ago, she fully had her baby.
Casually the fastest person in America 1 year later.
And in her post-race interview, she was like, yeah, I just got my period back this week. We as women have to handle so much.
Oh, I saw that. You sent that
I put it on my story. Yeah. It just was so badass. And it also just, the pro athletes normalizing talking about period health too is so cool, because it is so important as women to maintain your hormones and make sure that you're balancing like your stress and whatever. But yeah, that was really cool to watch.
Definitely remember that topic for later, because we are going to like dive into health later. But I have to just let everyone know, if you watched my Instagram, you saw those cute little American flag cowboy boots that I bought for my baby nephew. I bought them as a birthday present for him, but obviously like their first 2 weeks trying to figure out how to handle a newborn, they were like, can y'all just like wait 2 weeks and then come? And we were like, perfect. So I actually got to deliver him these America cowboy boots on the 4th of July. It was like the best moment ever. And they're obviously the size of like half of his leg because he's so tiny still. Mm-hmm. But
has he put them on yet?
No, we're going to do like a little, I'm for sure getting a photo. Kristen wants to put him in a specific outfit. Okay. And the boots are probably going to look like they go up to his knees even. But they're like for a 3-month-old. And he is big for both of our, so our sister is 6 foot and her husband's 6'4". So, like, this baby is ahead of the game when it comes to size. Plus, Kristen...
He's drinking so much milk.
And Kristen was late, a week late on the due date. So the baby,
like 5 days.
Compared to other babies being born, is like a big baby. He's so perfect. But these boots, we're going to do, like, a little photo shoot. And I think we were also trying to find, like, the cowboy hat to get a picture of Jacob, like, in a cowboy hat. So we're on it.
That's so cute.
We're doing our best. I don't know if we're going to be allowed to show you all any pictures, though, because that's totally up to Kristen and Martin, and if they want, like, to have complete privacy, which I honestly would love to know y'all's thoughts on, like, kids and, like, parents putting their kids on social media, because that's something that I haven't had to ever think about. I don't have any kids, and, like, we're, like, newly on to this subject, so I'm curious what other people think about it and how they handle that situation. But when I asked you when you first met Jacob, like, what your experience was. When I walked in the door, it was like a movie scene. Like, Kristen and Martin are just, like, puttering around the kitchen, doing mom and dad things. The baby carriage is just sitting there. And he's so quiet, but then you just hear this little, like, meh. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, my God, there's something in there. And you go over, and he's just this little... First of all, he has a full head of hair. Full head of hair. Like, apparently, Mom says he looks a lot like me because I had the same thing. I had a full head. Yeah. My hair came out black, completely black.
And curly.
And then it was curly, and it grew out, which has got to be something weird with just baby hormones, because Mom said that it was, like, really bizarre. It grew out white. So I had white hair with, like, funny. Black curly tips. And then eventually, obviously, my hair just, like, became dirty blonde.
Like the opposite of frosted tips.
The complete opposite of frosted tips, but on a newborn, where they're like, did you dye your kid's hair?
Chocolate tips.
Yeah. So Maudie talks about it, too. Like, they were like, your hair was wild in.
That's so funny.
I don't know. My hair's always been wild. I had strawberry blonde for a minute, too, and then it turned into this color. But anyway, so seeing him with his dark hair and his little blue eyes and, like, trying to pick features, I'm like, is that Kristen's nose and chin? Is this whatever? And then I think same as you, like, when I was very patient, it was very hard for me to be patient, but I never was like, can I pick him up? I just waited, because Kristen and Martin are very particular about, you know, when you're, I mean, it's their brand new baby, so I'm just being patient. And they're like, do you want to hold him? I was like tweaking out, like, I will do anything to hold this baby. So I go sit down on the couch, and Kristen, like, places him in my arms. And when I tell you, I immediately lost it, just bawling. I've never experienced something like that in my life. It was just like, people talk about love at first sight, and I know it's real because of that.
Yeah.
It was just like, immediately I would do anything for this child. I would give it whatever it wants. Yeah. Like, I am yours. Done. Signed, sealed, delivered. And it was just the most beautiful feeling. I can't even imagine how Kristen and Martin feel. Yeah. That's not even my kid. Like, and I was like, my life has changed.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And that's what's so weird about being a first-time parent versus third and whatever.
Right.
When you have the first one, it's literally just like a little porcelain doll. And you're like, how do I take care of this? And everything is so scary.
You good? You good?
Poke it, make sure it's still alive.
I mean, he's so still sometimes. Kristen does say that. She'll, like, I just have to walk around and make sure he's still good in there. Like,
yeah.
Because he's just being quiet. And I'm like... And his little cry is just so cute.
He cried a couple of times. He cried yesterday when I was holding him, and I was really proud of myself because before Kristen could get over to me, I I was holding him, cradling him in my arms, and then I kind of shifted him to be up to where his like head was over my shoulder, and he stopped crying, and I was like, this is the best accomplishment of my entire life.
Face. Emily was like, I'm an Olympian now. That was my gold medal.
I was like, I don't have to accomplish anything else.
When I handed Jacob back after the first time holding him, I literally looked at my parents and go, I could die now.
Yeah.
I'm done.
It was really crazy. And we've been waiting for this moment for a long time. So it was pretty surreal to actually meet him in person. And my mom just kept saying how much he's grown, even since she saw him when he was first born. So I'm glad we got to see him so early because he's growing so fast.
And the pictures, even from like when he was born to now, he looks different. Like it's the amount, and then you just think about what's happening in that little body. Like everything that's developing and how quickly it has to go.
It's crazy.
It's got to kind of hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm just trying to think about how is the body able to do what it does. I literally looked at this little nugget wrapped up in what is it called? A swaddle. Mm-hmm. Like Martin will like wrap it up in this little blanket. A little crawfish blanket because we're all Cajun. It's really cute. And I just remember being like, in like 16 years, this baby's going to be like 6'4".
Yeah.
Maybe 6'2", whatever, but like tall.
Well, I look at my dad and I go, can you believe that you've known us since we were that big? And he was like, yeah.
And then I was like, Dad used to be that big.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the fact about that we learned, I think it was like a few months ago or 6 months ago, whenever we learned how grandmas, when they're carrying or moms, when they're carrying female babies inside of them, their female babies already have their eggs inside of them.
Yeah.
So technically mom carried Jacob inside of her.
Yeah.
Because grandmas have their like grandchildren's eggs inside of whatever. Is it only female babies?
I don't remember, but it's...
Anyways, yeah. So we were talking to mom. We're like, you carried him too, which is crazy.
That is so wild.
Yeah.
Science is the craziest thing on the planet.
And it all ties in with our health thing too.
It totally ties in with the health. Because I was even just thinking about Dad, the comedic relief of this episode. The two of us both being like, glad Kristen's holding it down for our parents because the two of us are single as it gets. So there's no babies anytime soon coming here. I did have a few people when I showed those little baby boots on Instagram, like a couple of the comments were like, not me thinking this is a baby announcement.
I literally swiped onto it and I was like, oh, that's genius. Because people are going to think it's a baby announcement the entire time she's talking right now. And then I watched the whole video and it was really cute and sweet. But it was the first thing that I thought. I was like, look at that social media.
I just thought they were cute.
They're really cute.
The boots are so cute. I was like obsessed with them. Oh my gosh. Oh, but what I was going to say is Dad, he just kept being like, we started talking about health yesterday with the whole family because it's obviously with Kristen recovering from, giving birth only a couple of weeks ago. And then the two of us being on the road as much as we are and doing
talking about how lucky
what we
do. Are too to
talking about about how lucky we are to have our parents for sure. And Dad was like, I'm just trying to stick around until I can walk all my daughters down the aisle. And Emily and I looked at each other and were like, you better hold on for a long time, Dad, because we're taking our sweet time over here.
Yeah.
But everyone's getting healthy. We did like a 2.5 mile walk with the whole family yesterday.
Oh, it was so
Martin was
cute.
just pushing.
Julia posted the cutest video on her story of us just walking around. It literally felt like we were in a movie.
I'll send that video too to make sure we can put it on our socials so that y'all can see it on Hustle and Harmony.
What else is crazy is, so I've gotten really into my Oura ring and how it shows like your stress throughout the day. And I actually had a really great conversation with Dad about this yesterday. We were sitting on the porch. He came outside to hang out with me while I was doing my lift outside with my like one little
I saw him
makeshift dumbbell. He was like, I'll come keep Emily company. And we had the best conversation. We talked about kind of everything. I was talking about me wanting to continue running, obviously, but then also talked about managing stress and relaxing. And we got onto the topic because all of us were so relaxed yesterday. And that never happens because we're just always like, go, go, go. But I've talked a lot about how my whole childhood, I was always grinding, volleyball, basketball, school, whatever, until I went to one of y'all's events or I came to like visit y'all or whatever. So y'all were always my treat, my like thing I was working towards to go celebrate and like relax with them. So I've always I'm realizing now, associated y'all with like relaxing and this is my time to recharge. Mm-hmm. And then I went off to college for so long, and I realized, like, kind of looking back, there wasn't a lot of recharging going on. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't really let myself ever just, go home and watch a movie or just lay on my couch and do nothing. It's honestly, like, it's hard for me to do that because I'm like, I want to get up and be productive right now.
Yeah.
But it's really cool how we've associated our family with kind of recharging together. But Dad and I were talking about how you've got to be able to do it on your own, too. Like, it can't be just whenever we're together, especially whenever we're long distance. And what's cool about my Oura Ring is they've added a new feature where you can see the stress throughout the day. And I can't tell a difference personally. But my, heart statistics are really crazy. Like, when I'm just bopping around doing stuff at Duke, it's, like, stress at the max all day long.
Because you're moving
because I'm doing things, and I'm not like, oh, I'm super stressed right now. But like yesterday, woke up, or 2 days ago.
I think it was a different definition of stress. Mm-hmm. Because it isn't...
It's physiological, not like... And that's one of the things it talks about is not all stress on this chart is bad. Some things can be good stress.
Like a hard workout is good stress.
Exactly. Yeah. And like having, doing an activity with your friends or like joking around and it's very high energy, you get all riled up, like laughing, whatever.
Totally.
Rather than just being really calm and relaxing. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that it's bad. And so it's like, that's one of the things that they say a lot on the like captions of the thing is like, not all stress is bad just because it says you were stressed today. You didn't do a bad job today. Because obviously a lot of people who are using Oura Rings probably get in their head about that.
Yeah.
But it was so cool because, we were just traveling in the morning and my stress was like up high, whatever.
Airports.
Didn't feel stress. Yeah.
Airports are not good stress.
And then you can see like right at 6 p.m. whenever I was holding Jacob, it plummeted.
No way.
Like down to the bottom. It was so cool.
Just utter peace.
Yeah, because I was just sitting there holding him, and my only purpose in that moment was just to stare in his eyes for those 30 minutes.
That was literally it.
Yeah.
Just to stare at this cute little miracle.
And it was so cool.
I love that.
It's kind of like just really cool how people talk so much about the importance of going back to your roots and spending time with family and how healing that can be.
Depending also on like if your family is stressful or
exactly.
not.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I saw an Instagram post yesterday, shocker, that was like I think she was a PhD and a psychologist, but her quote was, the best thing for your nervous system is another human. Also, the worst thing for your nervous system is another human.
Well, because it's an uncontrolled variable, so that person can act in many different ways, and obviously their actions are going to create stress or peace in your life, so it makes sense that it can go either way. But I know we already talked about this on another episode, but when I had that breakdown on tour, when we had all the issues with this one promoter and we had this one run of shows where some stuff got canceled, and I was devastated because I didn't get to meet the fans who'd bought tickets in those cities, and it was my first time ever touring, whatever. And you were with me in the hotel room, and I was just like sobbing. And then I just remember looking at you and be like, I want you to associate your time with me as a good time. Like, I don't want you to think, oh, I'm not having fun when I'm with her, and then associate it with like, this is not a good time.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm so happy I'm here. Because imagine if you had been going through this completely by yourself, where your brain would have gone. And it's true, because I subconsciously tried to find every silver lining or tried to make everything brighter for you, but inherently it was for me too. Like, I put my brain on that path to make you have a better time.
Yeah.
And I could have like just
choosing positivity.
I would have wallowed in my self-pity and just been, and I did kind of want to do that. So I was like,
well, you also have to let yourself feel the feelings sometimes, or else you'll never you'll never be able to process them if you don't. Yeah. That's why crying can be so healthy and like cathartic.
Yeah.
But
But anyway, we got past that. But it's just having that other person sometimes is a big part of your health. And I think realizing that rest doesn't have to be alone also is a crazy thing to digest. Because for me, it's looking like rest has to be alone, and that's just because I realize the vast majority of my time I'm with people.
Yeah.
Like, the whole time I'm touring, the whole time I'm making music, almost none of it is done solo. But you're right, like, I can still be with certain people and be like, no, we don't even have to talk.
Yeah.
Like, if the two of us don't feel like talking, like, we sat in here for probably 45 minutes and just didn't say a word.
Mm-hmm.
But, like,
but we're also getting to spend more
out.
time together, too, which
That's
makes
true.
it not like I want to talk to you every single second that we have now.
We will FaceTime each other, not be talking, just sit the phone up.
Yeah, and work
and
together.
just have the phone, which is ridiculous. And obviously,
our dad's like, I don't understand y'all. Like, if we're not talking, I'm gonna hang up. It's so funny. Anytime I like close a door or you can hear something rattling, he's like, oh, do you have to go?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. And he's like, I'm not like y'all. Like, I can't do things while I'm talking.
Yeah. Which is probably a good thing because he's like focused on the call. But we're just like, I just want to hang out and also do things. But I can't wait to dive into I know we're already started on it, but like this health conversation has been one that you and I have had many, many times, and it has evolved over the last couple of years. And I think I have definitely found something that's working for me, and it took a long time and a lot of like self-abuse, being like, you're not doing enough, and then when you, so basically,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How have you changed like your relationship with how you take care of your health in your career, and how has that evolved over your career?
It's changed dramatically. I grew up playing very intense sports where we would go train for 5 hours a day. You would have weight room, you would have your track portion of the day, and then you would have the actual sport training portion of the day. You would sometimes have 2-a-days for the summer period, and then you would maybe have the game that night where you're still surrounded by the sport, doing warm-up, playing the game. That's another 5 hours of your day. I used to have it as my like number one priority. Obviously schoolwork had to get done, but aside from that, even schoolwork all was around my sports schedule. Mm-hmm. So my body's health and activity was never not happening. There was always action and muscle movement and like that type of healthy movement. Being in any career in the world that is not based on physical movement, it becomes a luxury to work out and to maintain your health. And you can let work completely consume you, which I have done, but the hard thing for me was not understanding that there is a happy medium. I don't have to dedicate 3 hours to being able to work out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to be able to go lift the heaviest thing or run the farthest or the fastest, because no longer is it my main goal to have my physical performance outperform the next person. Mm-hmm. My goal right now is to make the best music in the world I can make and have the music connect with anyone who needs that message, because it's all about life and making sure we don't feel alone in all of the hard things that we go through. That's what my goal is.
And it takes so much energy too to make it like real and vulnerable in a way that it can connect with a lot of people. It's hard to do.
Well, and it's the same as being an entrepreneur anywhere. You never turn it off.
Yeah.
So I could spend 24 hours a day, 365 doing it if I want to.
Like you did at 4 a.m. the night before last.
I did. I wrote 2 songs in the middle of the night. But like, I had to remind myself, okay, you can take a little bit of time away. And the battle that I was going back and forth with was, I'm working out too much, which means I didn't spend as much time today doing business and doing music and doing the thing that's my actual goal. Mm-hmm. And I really should have been doing more of that. And then the other battle of it is, you didn't work out. You're lazy. You feel bad. Your body hasn't gotten the health you deserve
today. Been at the desk.
So
whatever.
That was the constant battle. And over the last year, it's been over a year now, probably a year and a half, I've been doing the mile a day.
It's so cool. I love it.
It really brought me so much peace, because what I realized was that I'm not consuming really unhealthy food, and I'm not I'm not a professional athlete. So
you're also the best hydrated person to walk this planet. I got her hooked on LMNT and the chocolate ones. She's my little chocolate girl. And you just have your little chocolate element all day long.
Element is electrolytes.
Yeah.
And so you can basically put it in your water. It makes your water taste better. It makes it easier to chug.
It's also spelled LMNT. And if you want to try them, there's a link in all of my bios.
Shameless plug. Emily Cole. But anyway, what I was saying is I realized that with doing my mile a day, I could allocate it's less than 10 minutes. I mean, I run, for some people, they might need 20 minutes to do their mile. If it's hard for you to do, I get that. But for me, I can run a 6-minute mile if I'm booking it. So I'll go in there, I'll do just like a casual mile and I usually don't do like a fast sprint one because I'm not spending the time to warm up and cool down and all that beforehand. And I don't really sweat a bunch. So I was like, okay, I can go in there, I can do 1 mile, not be sweaty, and go on with the rest of my day. So all I have to do is make sure that I set aside 10 minutes for myself a day. And if I can't make 10 minutes for myself, then I'm a loser. Like, you have to figure out how to make 10 minutes for yourself. I just don't feel like that's reasonable to tell the human body you don't deserve 10 minutes of movement for the whole day. So I started, and the other roadblock that I had was accessibility. Not I'm on tour, I'm in weird places. Mm-hmm. Not every place I have has a weight machine or the right type of cardio machines in a weight room. And not every place you go has, I don't know, a basketball court where you can just go play for a little while, whatever it is. Running, accessibility, ground zero. I know I could do it anywhere. And if it's a weird place to run, I can walk the mile. Yeah. I can literally just walk around the town, and it still counts as long as I do my mile. Yeah. And it's given me so much peace because I can do it with people. If we're going to go walk it somewhere, if I need to do it by myself, I just disappear from whoever the group is for 10 minutes and come back, and it's not a big deal.
Well, it was also cool whenever I was staying with you during my break. It was funny because I wasn't running, and Julia was like, all right, I'm going to go run my mile and I'll be back. And it was so fast. I look at my phone for 1 second and she's done. Yeah. So it's how fast time goes by whenever you're looking at social media and whatever. Yeah. But you're just like right in the morning, you wake up, just get it done, and then you've already accomplished something. That's something that I've seen a lot too, mm-hmm. is how important it is to do your hardest task for the day first. And I guess on the topic of health too, I've gotten really interested in cortisol and hormones and trying to get everything like that balanced for myself. And there's a lady who shares how she kind of helped fix her cortisol and hormone levels, and she gave this little habit tracker to do for the 7 days, and it's literally very simple. It's like lemon water in the morning, don't look at your phone for the first 30 minutes. And that immediately in my head was like, duh.
Why lemon water?
I actually don't know the science behind the lemon water, but I've started doing it. But maybe
it's just water and she just thinks the lemon tastes better or something.
No. The lemon is supposed to be like cleansing. Like literally in Sydney McLaughlin, the 5-time world record holder in the 400-meter hurdles, they're like, what do you have in the morning when you wake up?
She might know a thing or two.
She goes, lemon water every morning as soon as I wake up. And I was like, well, if she's doing it, then I'm doing it. Yeah. It's detoxifying, I think. I need to look it up. I need to know. But the other thing of the no phone for the first 30 minutes when you wake up, immediately I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. Yeah. Because as soon as I open my phone, it is overstimulation to the max. Like True. 10 texts, like social media, it's mm-hmm. all my work.
All the things you're not done with that were due already.
And it's like immediate, you're behind already. Yeah. These are all the 100 things you need to do. And so I've really kind of worked on, turn off my alarm or whatever, wake up, and I brush my teeth, and I make my breakfast, and make my water, try and get, the big thing, Dr. Andrew Huberman, he's like the master of health. He runs a lab about studying like human longevity and optimizing your health and body at Stanford. And so he's, famous on social media now for his knowledge and research. And the literal most important pillars that he stands by of health is getting sunlight in the first 30 minutes of the day, just like 5 to 10 minutes. If it's cloudy, 10 to 20 minutes, because it just needs a little bit more time, because it helps reset your circadian rhythm, and cold exposure, like doing an ice bath, because of the mental effects it has on your mental performance. And
I did read something about how ice baths, though, could be bad for someone trying to get their period back.
Really?
Yes. So there is more to study on everything that we talk about. Yeah. But we definitely are just doing our best to figure out how to be healthy in this in this very unscheduled life that we both live. Because I feel like some people, they're like, okay, my job starts at 9. If I wake up at 6:30, 30 minutes to get coffee, get my things ready, 7 a.m. I'm at the gym, work out till 8, shower in the locker room, get to work by 9. Like I know friends who've got a schedule that's that easy to like navigate, or they go to a class or something at 8 a.m. or something. But I'm in a different city every day. You have very different workouts every day. So yours is again, why it's so fun for us to have these conversations is our worlds could not be more opposite on the actual reasoning for our workout. And you are trying to literally be the fastest person in the world at a certain thing, which means you have to work way harder than I do at like physical muscle build and endurance and all of those things. So what I've noticed, and I have a question for you, but what I've noticed just being an outsider looking in on your life, sometimes the hardest part for you is knowing when to go less hard, because you have something that could be an injury, could turn into an injury, you're not sure about it yet, or you just need rest, or whatever that thing is. But you have to make the call. Can I push? And you're willing to. You're always willing to go the extra mile and work hard, but you're like, is that actually the right choice today? Or am I making the wrong decision? So here's my question. How do you decide? Like, how do you know when your body is telling you something that you need to listen to, or it's something that you're supposed to work through because a really hardcore athlete would work through it?
I think, first of all, it's a great question, but there are two sides to it. One of them is just how you personally perceive your body and your tiredness. And the other side of it is I do have my Oura ring giving me stats every morning when I wake up about how recovered I am. And that's been really interesting because obviously whenever you're on a college team, you're not going to not do your workout with the team just because your body said you're not that recovered.
That's true.
If you're not like sick.
My volleyball coaches would have laughed in my face if I was like, no, I'm not recovered today. I'm not going to do the 3 miles y'all want. They'd be like, you're kicked off the team. Like, you're literally gone.
And I think that's the difference, too, of getting to this next level of athletic performance, too, because in professional running, coaches really care about that. Because if your heart rate variability is a specific metric that really shows your recovery and your resting heart rate while you sleep, too. Those are the two biggest things that the Oura Ring bases it off of. And I know the Whoop wristband, which I have tried before, and I also think is cool. And the biggest difference is, to me, is really just one's a ring and one's a wristband, whatever you want to wear. But the Whoop also bases it off of your respiratory rate. And heart rate variability, I'm 99% positive I can explain this correctly, is the difference in lengths of time between your heartbeats. So if your heart's beating at 60 beats per minute, it's not every single second. It's like da, da da. And the more variation there is between the heartbeats, it reflects how quick your body is able to respond to stimuli. So if you're better able to respond to whatever stimuli, you're like more recovered. You're more able to do a harder workout that day. Your heart rate variability is higher whenever you're ready to perform on that day. Wow. So you want your heart rate, your resting heart rate to be low, and your heart rate variability to be high. That being said,
that's so weird. In my brain, I would think that was inconsistency, and I would feel like that was wrong.
Yeah, no. So it's a good thing to have high heart rate variability.
Okay.
And what's cool is it's also, you can't compare your heart rate variability to somebody else's, because someone else's baseline heart rate variability might be 60, and yours might be 120, and that doesn't mean yours is better. People just have different ones. So it's
knowing what your baseline is, and then waking up the next day and being like, I'm above or below my baseline.
Exactly, and seeing your trends. And so that's been really fascinating for me to get to observe from my Oura Ring and watching my recovery. And I think that there have been several days where I woke up and it was really bad, and I didn't feel that bad yet. And
by 5 p.m. you're like, ugh.
Right. Well, and I chose to go a little bit easier on my workout or something, and then the next day I am sick.
No way.
So I can tell that sickness is coming on, that my body's run down, but I've definitely learned to go easier based on that, even if I can't really tell. But there have also been days where...
And that's your stress level or your heart rate variability being off? Like, what are you looking at on your Whoop or on your Oura Ring?
my heart rate variability being low will indicate, but sometimes, so for example, if I know something happened, like I'm traveling across the country because I have to race and it's a different time zone, and my heart rate variability was low because my sleep was thrown off. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do the workout that I'm supposed to do the next day, but it is always good information and intel to know and keep track of. Whereas if it's the same exact situation, I slept in my same bed, had the same food, and it's very different, then I know something's going on.
Well, here I am being the average non, steeplechase runner. And I'm sure everybody else listening to this, like, we want to be healthy, but we don't want to work as hard as you do at the information side of it. So what would be like the one point of information that you'd be like, okay, on any of these apps, because I have the Garmin, I have most of the things you're talking about that are like this watch will tell me my sleep score, my heart rate, whatever. I'm sure it has all the things you're talking about. What is the one thing, because I've just been looking at sleep score. Like if I have a bad sleep score, and then I'm just like, you need to get it together, like sleep the next night. So that's been the one thing I look at. Is there simplified for the average person who does not feel like comparing and contrasting 2 million things, what's the one piece of advice you'd be like, this is what you should check?
I mean, I'm not...
Dumb it down.
I'm not a doctor or coach, so don't take any of this as,
No, this is for me. I'm acting like it's for them.
But
it's just for me.
Sister to sister, I mean, I think what you're doing is great. You've got your Garmin watch, and it tells you... I mean, the systems themselves simplify it. So my Oura Ring has a readiness score and sleep score. I then go into the metrics and see why it is that score.
Okay,
and that's
so
what
readiness,
I'm
sleep score. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Friends.
And like I'm sure that your watch has that too.
Yeah, I have readiness and a sleep score. And I have a stress level. Like I have those things, but the one that I look at, the only one that I'll go back and look at my 7-day history or whatever is my sleep score.
Yeah.
Because I just don't have time to give a shit about everything else, frankly. Yeah. Like, I'm going to give it 2 minutes of my, 1 minute of my time, you know, to be like, okay, well, I have things to do. So,
well, there's also a flip side to it, too, of you don't want to be too wound up or stressed out about your recovery and making everything perfect, because then that's going to stress you out and make your recovery worse. So, a lot of coaches like have a hard time navigating that with their athletes, too. And there have been phases where I don't look at my Oura Ring for 2 weeks. And then I feel better after those 2 weeks because I'm not so worried about the numbers and just kind of wound up. So you got to know what's best for you.
You have a very, it's not an OCD personality. You have a very all-in personality. Hyper-focused person. Yeah. So like when you decide that something matters to you, you sometimes can let it matter too much. And it actually, I was already going to go on to this subject next of food, because you have a gluten allergy and intolerance, you're celiac, and I was like, I remember when you were still trying to figure out what was wrong, but you could just tell like all your training was right, and you were like, I cannot figure out why my health is still not doing well.
It was really bad.
But I remember just the actual stress and like sadness that you got from food, from just how difficult it was to find the right food, and how food wasn't making you feel better. And then the whole group would want to go do something, and then you would feel like the odd man out because you wanted to eat something else, or that whatever it was, there was this big hurdle. And I feel like you and Kristen, who they both have celiac, I am the lucky one who can just swim in bread. The two of them
what a fun way to put it.
The two of them had to really figure out ways to navigate going out to restaurants. And I can't even imagine being on a college campus and being like, I'm sure, I mean, Duke, it's probably a lot better than I'm thinking, but just, amazing, but like that's a big barrier to have to worry about 3 times a day. I mean, it's every day, 3 times a day, you're supposed to be eating something. So you're having to always like have this extra hurdle.
And stress.
Yeah. What did you do to stop being, I know some of the answers to this, but I want you to tell them, like, how did you eliminate some of the stress surrounding it? Not necessarily how did you fix the problem, unless that's what alleviated the stress, but really taking it away from being an added on, because it was obviously food was a problem, but I was watching it hurt your mental health way more than I was watching it hurt your physical health.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a lot.
I took 10 minutes to ask that question.
Where do I begin? Okay, I'm like literally sweating thinking about answering this right now.
We also turned the AC off so that it wouldn't be loud in here. It is hot.
So to, I guess, open up a little more and be a little bit more vulnerable, my senior year of high school, when I started running year round, I also started tracking my macros, and that was what helped me like learn about nutrition and just learn how to feel well. And I then ended up the cross-country season of my senior year going into my 2-day coma from being overhydrated and too low in sodium. And that was, the stimulus of that was drinking so much water, not knowing what electrolytes were, and because I was cooking all my food, wasn't putting a ton of sodium in it, salt, and we live in Houston and I'm a very salty sweater. So I was just losing sodium so much every day and not replenishing it. And so I have this extreme result in the first 6 months of me caring about health. That was traumatic for our whole family. And then
we'll dive more into the actual like day of event in our next episode, because I also want to talk about the book and everything. But
so I had to come back from that, and that was a whole process, finding my relationship with food, and then going to college, and I was not performing well, not feeling good. But one of the bigger things too was I was getting sick all the time. I got bronchitis, I had, sinus infection, I had sty. I could not figure out why I kept getting sick, and I'm the most diligent about getting sleep and eating healthy. And I was like, are you kidding me? What is wrong with me? And then my sophomore year of cross country, I was passing out basically every cross country race, like halfway through the race. Not really passing out, but the whole
You could see when the gas ran out. It was wild. Like she would be like hauling it, doing her thing, and then it was like in a boom. That was the exact moment you could see when the gas ran out of the tank.
Well, it was like the last 2K of the race. I essentially was just like seeing stars, just hanging on, and like I have never DNF'd a race, which literally Kristen was like, I hate you for that, because I wish you would have just DNF'd, because the concern for my health and like pushing through of that phase of when you're not running competitively, you're just at the limit already and still pushing your body. And Mom is also like, you've given me so many gray hairs watching you do that. But finishing that season, it was really enlightening for me, because I was like, something is wrong. I have got to go get this checked out. And that's whenever I talked to all the doctors at Duke, and they were super helpful. And our amazing doctor, Dr. Kinsey, got me in to do an endoscopy where they put you under and put a camera in your stomach, and they saw that I had celiac disease, which is essentially where if you're eating gluten, it destroys the villi in your stomach, so you can't absorb any nutrients. So your immunity is awful, like your immunity is 0. You're not absorbing any nutrients, so stuff's just kind of going straight through you. Which is why even though I was eating well and sleeping well, I was getting sick all the time, not performing well. And it's just crazy too, because it's not just like, oh, gluten hurts my stomach and makes me a little bloated. Like, it's an autoimmune disease. And anyways, that was really exciting to learn. And something I haven't been as open about is my like struggles with amenorrhea and not getting my period. And that was something that I was really excited about helping me fix. And I shared in my book, it was cool because I was writing my book, The Player's Plate, through that whole process. And then in the conclusion, I talk about how, you know what? I know the research in this book is going to be outdated in 15 to 20 years. And your journey with nutrition is never going to end.
It has to be evolving.
It's always going to be evolving. Your needs are always going to be changing. Because guess what? I just wrote this entire book and worked so hard to eat more carbs for these first 2 years of my time at Duke. And then they told me all of the carbs I've been eating, bread and pasta, have actually been hurting me. So just little things, like everyone's got such different needs, and figuring that out. And so that was really helpful for me to know, to help me kind of solve all of those issues. But
well, what I tried to bait you into saying, basically, because I'm the family member who is also trying to find a restaurant to eat with you. And I'm like, literally nothing's good enough for this girl. Like, she doesn't want to eat anywhere we're going. And it was wild because when I watched you change your mindset, you went from, I no longer am going to ever let food be a problem for me. The thing that I watched you change was you brought food with you.
Yeah.
You have a backpack of whatever it is that you need. And obviously, Emily's food needs are very different than your needs, my needs, everyone else's needs, because not only, I'm talking even pre-realizing celiac, when you're an athlete like that, your caloric intake is much higher. Like I remember listening to Michael Phelps talk about how much he would eat during a day because he swims so many laps. And I was like, that's more food than I have in a month. It was like insane. So your dependency on food as fuel for your dreams is much higher. Mine is like, all right, did I eat enough to like function today? Yes.
Well, and time span to getting hangry is so much lower.
Yeah.
It's so much smaller because your body's just burning so quickly.
But you're not just hangry about food. You're stressed about your job. You're stressed about your performance in track. So it's not only hanger, it's on top of that, I'm not going to be able to do my workout tomorrow morning because I didn't get the dinner I needed tonight. So and I'm the second hand watching this happen for years. Like, and it being, all of us would be stressed out when it was time to eat because we were just like, we need Emily to be happy with like whatever food we find.
I don't like that.
Well, but we told you. And then you literally made this, it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. You were just like, this is no longer ever going to be a problem for me. And you were just like, I'm going to either find a gluten-free restaurant that I want to go to and everyone else is going to be like cool with. Because we were always down to go wherever, you know? And then it was like, you brought this backpack. We'd be in the car or walking somewhere or just hanging out in someone's home that we maybe didn't have access to snacks or food. And you would just pull out like a full meal and you'd be happy and everyone was just like, the stress was gone from the situation. But what I admired so much about it was that no one told you to do that. No one taught you that it was a solution to the problem. You were just like, I'm going to fix this because this is what my life requires, and I'm not going to make everyone else's life require what my life requires. I'm going to just provide for myself and make it work. And whatever people's needs are in life, they're going to have something different that's like important to them or that they need to have. Because I remember dating my ex, it was like, he would never have enough food. Yeah. And then the minute we're somewhere that food is not accessible, be just so mad that there wasn't food. And I'd be like, well, you didn't eat any of the food at the place where there was just a bunch of food. Yeah. And it was just a choice where it's like you're planning, like you make sure that you prioritize the things that are important to you.
I'm like always thinking ahead about it.
But you think ahead. And it's like, if it's going to be something that dictates your happiness, you plan ahead for it, which I love.
And I think it also kind of goes back to figuring out what your needs are to be a happy human and like taking care of yourself and knowing your boundaries and what you need to do to be able to be a happy human for other people. Yeah. But you can't be your best version of yourselves for everyone else if you don't take care of yourself 100%. And like know what you need.
And we definitely have different, like I will get very stressed out if I don't have water available. Yeah. So we all have different things that we're like, you know, anal about that's like for our own health thing. I also have a really weird thing about chocolate. Like I always have chocolate with me and I will be like itching for it if I cannot get it.
I love it.
So I have chocolate in my bag at all times.
You're also in love with pistachios too.
I do love pistachios, but they don't make me like chocolate. I will be like at the end of a meal and we're somewhere, I'm literally just like, where's my chocolate? And I will
that is so
I will make sure that I find it before, like I will go to a store and buy it. I'll go out of my way to be like, I'm going to get chocolate. Like I'm not an alcoholic, I'm literally a chocoholic. It's a problem.
So good.
So like everyone has different things that are like whatever, and that's not for my health, but it's like something that I really want.
For your mental health.
Yeah, and so like I bring it with me now. I don't depend on it being wherever I am. Like, this is perfect.
How do you navigate nutrition like on the road and traveling so much? Because sometimes you're in a car literally all day long.
Yeah.
Oh, talk about Starbucks.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we are obsessed with Starbucks. We're the most basic of white girls. And they have these Starbucks egg bites that are the perfect breakfast, perfect really any time of day source of protein that are also delicious. Like,
fire.
So good. They're not expensive. It's like
everywhere too.
And their Starbucks is pretty much everywhere now. Like, I used to have a hard time finding them on the road, but they have expanded to be on our road trips. At least one of the cities we're driving through will like have Starbucks, and usually we'll pick our hotel to be somewhere close to a Starbucks because everyone on my team is kind of like a coffee crackhead. But I'm more about the egg bites there because I'll drink all sorts of different things like tea or whatever. But when we're on the road, we usually are able to make sure we have at least one good, like really good meal that day, where we're either getting chicken breast or salmon or burgers, and a lot of times the venues will provide the dinner, or they'll like catering or the dinner buyout or something like that, so we don't have to like skimp on it to save or whatever. It's like you get a dinner budget for your crew. But it's what you're talking about, the long road trips. We've just found some of the places that you can find healthy food there, and not everyone in my band wants to eat healthy every single time, so you can kind of all pick what you want. But I go
has options too.
I go to a lot of Panera Breads. I go to a lot of Subways. If we can find, sometimes we'll go to, Chipotle's, or we'll find a local taco spot. You can usually get chicken or shrimp or some sort of taco that's really not bad for you. But we're definitely not stopping at Taco Bell's. We're not going to McDonald's. Like, there's an active choice, and it is a little more expensive on my end because I'm the one paying for everyone's food, but it's like I would rather us all get something with chicken breast in it than everyone feel crappy the next day. And I have my crew on the whole mile a day, so everybody's just like, and I mean, we have our fun. Like, we will also eat dessert. We will also get blizzards from Dairy Queen after we had a healthy meal somewhere, which is very contradictory.
And a tequila shot, whatever.
Oh, the whole bottle of bourbon will be gone at the end of the night. Like, we're doing our thing. So it's not like we're sticklers about it on the road, but I'm like, if none of us like really wanted Taco Bell and we're just picking between this or that, why wouldn't we just go somewhere with just slightly better health options? And you like accidentally are just a little healthier by doing that. So I guess that's the long-winded explanation of what we do on the road, but it's not completely up to me. There's always options, and everyone who's on the road with me can pick their poison. But I try to be a healthy influence, and I'm always getting something. I actually enjoy healthy food. I think it tastes good.
Well, I just feel like
it's just expensive.
We're also in an era where it's becoming a lot more accessible. Like, a lot more restaurants are coming up with different healthy options. And they've learned that people don't want just a bowl of grass with no dressing on it because it doesn't fill up anyone, and it makes you bloated, and it leaves you unhappy and unsatisfied. That's not what people want. And like, businesses are catching on to that too. And so I feel like this is a good era where often when we're in places, I feel like there are several options that have plenty of healthy options for whatever people's needs are.
I think it's time that we do our book club and Q&A.
Love it.
Ready for that? I'll start because I'm so excited about and in love with Ernest Hemingway on writing. So I didn't really know what the book was when I got it. I was just like, oh, it says Ernest Hemingway, like, I like writing, whatever. It's a book where, so his publisher and Larry Phillips, who edited it, basically went through all of Ernest Hemingway's writings, letters to people, novels, everything, and found any excerpt where he spoke about the art of writing.
Wow.
And it's so cool. It's split between all of these sections. It shows all of the stories that, like, these are all different novels or stories that it was pulled from, like that the excerpts were pulled from. But the sections of the book, it's like what writing is and does, the qualities of a writer, the pain and pleasure of writing, what to write about, advice to writers, working habits. I mean, the whole thing is all separated. And then each little clip, sometimes it's one sentence, sometimes it's two sentences, and then it says what book it came from and what letter it came from and who he was writing to and some sort of like explanation. But it's so beautiful because, I mean, it's amazing to see what a genius is thinking as he's working his genius.
That's so cool.
About the art of his genius.
Yeah.
And it's like he describes writing as like the most difficult thing, but the only thing that brings him pleasure in the world. And that he feels at the end of writing like he's absolutely spent. And he talks about like he's like, I always try to finish when I'm on a roll and not wait until I get to a point where I've finished part of the story, because I want to be able to pick up writing again when I already know what I'm going to be writing about next, when I never finish what my thoughts are.
Whoa.
And then he's like, immediately after I'm writing, I have to stop thinking about what I'm writing about, because I need my subconscious to work on it, not my conscious. I want to be thinking about other things. So immediately I will read someone else's work to get myself into another story, so I don't keep thinking about what I'm writing about.
That's
so that I don't fatigue my mind on the story. And
that makes me think of you so much, because you have so many little like half song ideas in your notes.
Yeah.
And I know you've said when you go into writes, you just kind of scroll through them, but they're incomplete thoughts, but they're just thoughts that you have, and anytime you have one, you write it down and you move on.
And I have what I want it to be about. I just didn't necessarily finish it. Like, I know that I want this thing to be a play on these two words, and I think this is a cool scene or storyline for it. Now let's bring some brains in and see how we can make it even cooler than what I thought of.
Wow, yeah.
But, so anybody who wants to read this, I also just learned that Larry Phillips, I think he does this I think there are a bunch of different ones. So I think there's like an Ernest Hemingway on hunting and an Ernest Hemingway on fishing. And
cool.
So it's just cool to like, I haven't read all of his works, but I feel like I know him as a person.
Yeah.
By reading all of these different
I love that you're reading
pieces.
This.
Yeah, it's really cool. So
where'd you find it?
I think I was just at like a bookstore.
Okay.
Because look, it's used. I bought like a used book. I think I was at some little shop. But yeah, I'm obsessed. So that's my book for the week.
I love it.
Isn't that cool?
So for my book, I don't have it with me, but kind of keeping on the topic of health, I'll talk about one that kind of helped me in the very beginning of my journey, which is the Run Fast, Cook Fast, Eat Slow cookbooks.
Yes, so good.
By Shalane Flanagan and Elise Kopecky. And I mean, that was a book that I really got into as like a senior in high school, and I know that they took the running world specifically by storm, because the premise in the beginning is they were teammates at UNC, and Elise Kopecky,
cute.
I know, she graduated and then went to, I'm pretty sure, culinary school in Europe, but she also just lived in Europe, and all of their foods are so much more natural and full fat. And she got her period back, was running healthier than she ever had been before. She had struggled with stress fractures throughout her college career, and she came back, and Shalane Flanagan had been, obviously she's an incredible runner, so accomplished, and she had transitioned to pro running and gone from 60 miles a week to 120 miles a week. And she was talking about how she was never satisfied by like the little snacks, all the low fat stuff in America. And so Elise came back and was like, Shalane, like, you've got it's a new way of life. It's going to change everything for you. And started showing her how to cook in the kitchen and not worry about tracking your food, but having healthy fats like extra virgin olive oil, avocado in your food, and nuts, and actually feeling satisfied and feeling full. Even though it's an important thing, it's a big factor of running is race weight and monitoring your health and your fitness and everything. And so this book, the whole intro is talking about that relationship of them and their journey together, and helping Shalane transition to this pro world and really just be like, this changed my whole life.
Oh, so cool.
So cool. And the quote that has always stuck with me from the book that Shalane says is, the only numbers I want to care about are the splits on my watch. And so
that's cool.
It's all about like the journey of cooking in the kitchen together, and it inspired me to be passionate about cooking, passionate about food. And I have a whole chapter in my book where I talk about their book and how that inspired me. But for anyone who wants to get it, it's literally a book of just these healthy Mediterranean style recipes.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of education in there too about fueling and learning, especially for athletes and especially for female athletes, and how different our needs are than male athletes, and the pressures around psychological and societal pressures of looking a certain way whenever you're an athlete and performing, and having to navigate that too while you're trying to choose what to eat. And it's just amazing. And it really took the whole athletic world by storm. So I loved it.
I think both of our books are such good examples of how someone else's passion for something, whatever that thing is so much more motivational than any information.
Yeah.
Like their passion for how it changed their life is why you were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, me reading this about his he's like, writing is my oxygen,
Everything,
basically. And
yeah.
I'm like, me too. Like, I don't know. It's just something like when someone's passionate about something, it's just contagious.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that literally both of our books this week, we're both like, just so fascinated with the author.
And it's
like,
basically,
we love the subject. We love what's happening in the book, but it's like the reason they wrote it and the reason it exists. So
like
cool.
they really feel like whatever their topic is, they are changing the world by doing this. And everyone who reads it and that passion like applies to them, they are. Like they're changing so many people's lives. It's so cool.
I love it.
Okay, so for our Q&A section, this was a question kind of asked to both of us, but I'm going to ask it to you, Julia.
Okay.
From JB McCarty 21. How do you handle the fights? Family doesn't always get along 100% of the time.
We just duke it out. Just fist fight, just swinging. No. All of us are pretty similar, so we kind of do get rubbed the wrong way, and we always know when something's going to trigger someone else for the most part. And
we know each other so well.
Yeah, we all know each other so well that we can honestly, what I think we do, and you can kind of maybe give a little bit of an answer too on this one, I think we can sense when someone's getting irritated, and we usually just try to change the subject or like divert the conversation to be about something else, and we talk amongst the other three or whatever. And all of us are pretty good about letting it go.
Yeah. We don't do things intentionally to push each other's buttons.
Yeah. And did we?
Yeah.
Growing up?
Oh, yeah.
100%. We're not trying to pretend that your kids are going to grow up and just like be having nice conversations, but we're adults. Like we are going to talk it out now. Yeah. So the way we handle it now is very different than when we were little, and I would probably just like put Emily in a headlock and she'd be like, Mom.
Well,
like,
I remember you literally asking me, do you want to do these vocab cards for me one time? And I was like, yeah. And I just did like 100 vocab cards for you, and you were in like high school. And I thought it was fun, but
free child labor.
It's like Kristen making you sign the contract.
Oh yeah,
too.
my older sister would literally make me sign contracts that I couldn't be upstairs at the same time as her and her friends. My bedroom was upstairs. Like I couldn't go to my room while her friends were over. And I signed it with like a crayon or something. And
sometimes
I needed an attorney at 3 years old, like
to check your contract for you. But
ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's also just helpful that we're all so different and it's such different. Now we're actually all in a more similar phase of life too. Yeah. So we get each other more and can relate so much and open up more about kind of what we know we need and want from each other.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to handle that relationship. But that takes vulnerability and knowing what you want and need and being able to share that. And being able to admit when you're wrong too, which I feel like all of us are pretty good at.
My dad and I, we're the two who want to go do stuff. We want to go to a bar or go to a concert or go do a thing. Yeah. And we're like, we want the experiences. We want to go have fun, want to have a beer, whatever it is. And Kristen was kind of in the middle for a while, but now as she's gotten older and has a kid and a lot, like she's gotten more on Emily's side of the fence, where Emily's all about doesn't drink, wants to have rest, and
I still like to have fun. But
she likes to have fun, but I mean,
like
literal, she wants her legs to not have to be standing.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to be seated. I want to be, and that was a very particular thing you needed for your 60 to 70 mile weeks. Mm-hmm. So it was not out of nowhere. And Mom can be swayed either way. Like if she's got you to chill with, then she stays and chills. But if it's just the three of Mom, Dad, and me somewhere, Mom has FOMO. She wants to come out. Mm-hmm. So it's been a thing where all of us have kind of given each other the grace of, we have compromised, like 4th of July, for example. Everybody was in this very relaxed state. I know my dad and I were both like, I cannot believe we're not going somewhere to party on the 4th of July. And we were both just kind of like, this is what the family wants to do, so we're just going to hang out. And we did, and it was amazing, and it was super fun. But at the same time, I know there have been events where y'all were like, we really wanted to go home an hour ago, but Julia and Dad are having the best time, so we're just going to like get an Uber so they can stay out, or we're going to give them an extra hour, and whatever it is. It's compromise. Like in anything that's going to work, a team, a job, like you've got to compromise with the people around you.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
That was a good answer.
Okay, question from Sarah Swags. Emily, with your post-collegiate athletic career, what do you want to do with your athletic identity?
That's a deep question.
An athletic identity is like a big thing also.
Yeah.
It's not, are you going to run? It's like, who are you?
Yeah. Well, I think it ties in, too, to the whole concept of what you find your identity in and not finding your identity in your sport. And
but it said athletic identity.
Yeah, which is why athletes talk about that so much, because it's so incredibly difficult. It's like asking you to not find your identity in music.
Right.
When music is literally what defines what you love and care and do every single day.
It's a vast majority of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but for athletes, it is really helpful to have it be as little of your identity as it can be. And for anyone doing any career, so that you can separate your mental health. If things aren't going well professionally with whatever you're doing, you can find your identity outside of that, and your family and your passions and you as a human, and be like, I'm still okay mentally, even if this isn't going great. And so to answer your question, I think for my athletic identity post-college, I mean, I'm still navigating it. I'm not going to pretend like I've got it all figured out and I'm perfect. But one of the things that I did do was, as soon as I started my break, where I took my 2 weeks off after the season, because I'm still planning to continue to run, and I'm not exactly sure what that looks like yet, and I'm having conversations with people now. But the 2 weeks that I took off, I didn't let myself wear a single item that said Duke on it. No shirts, no shorts, not my Duke backpack, nothing. And that was so hard. I was looking in my closet, and it was pretty eye-opening, because first of all, I basically have lived in athletic clothes.
She's more than a blue devil.
Literally. I basically have lived in athletic clothes for the past 5 years, which I know a lot of athletes can resonate with. And then once you become a college athlete, you're a part of a team. You're a part of a team. You're advertising their brand, too.
True.
All the time. I mean, they've got Duke all over me all the time. I'd walk through the airport sometimes and not be with the team and not realize that, you know, if I had just put on
a t-shirt.
Yeah, a Duke shirt maybe. I had normal shorts, but then I put on my backpack and my giant Duke is just across my back too. And then it's got like Duke tags on it. And then I realize I kind of look like a dork right now walking through the airport when literally every single thing that I have on says Duke on it.
And everyone you're walking by, you're like, we get it.
Yeah.
We go to Duke.
Yeah,
like, chill.
Calm down. So that was something that I did those 2 weeks to really force myself to take a break and step away from the running mode for a little bit and just take a breather.
It sounds like instead of being Duke runner, you are Emily Cole the runner now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, but that was the first thing that I did, was during that 2 week period, I kind of took that break, and now I'm kind of readjusting back into it and being like, okay, so how often do I want to wear things that say Duke? And I can wear all the athletic clothes now that are whatever color I want. And trying to figure out what brand I want to work with in the future as I continue running, and trying to figure out
hit brand, whoever is listening.
And just figuring out what I want my personal brand to be. And I think that's something that I have to think about, because I've grown my social media too, and it's all kind of tied into your identity. But
I'm sorry this episode is so long, but can you please tell them the story about the Olympian who did her own shoes?
Oh, yes. Okay, so...
Because this is so exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's amazing. So Allison Felix is an incredible track and field athlete, the most decorated track and field athlete in history, with just, you know, 1 million Olympic medals. She's so amazing and incredible, and she's really fought a lot for athletes' maternity rights and having that in their contracts. And she was signed with Nike, and she made a lot of incredible changes in the last few years of her career. And essentially, she was signed with Nike, and
no maternity leave.
I'm not sure what exactly the details were with it, but
she wasn't happy.
She wasn't happy with how they allowed athletes to have a child and come back and still have the same compensation or value them the same. And it's more about being valued as a human and not just what your results are. And so she, first of all, shared about it publicly, stopped working with Nike anymore, and then created her own shoe brand and came back to the Olympics the next year and in her own shoe brand.
After having babies.
After having a baby, won an Olympic gold medal.
Won the gold medal in her own shoe and said, buy my shoes, you'll win gold too. Like, it was such a good story.
So savage. And
walking away from a brand deal like Nike is a really scary thing to do, because obviously they're one of the biggest names in the world, and you're just not sure you're going to get a different one, because it's not like any other companies out here throwing maternity leave out for fair like payment. So I was just like, dang, this girl is a savage. Started her own shoe brand.
Well, and what was really cool too was I had gone to I called it for my first USAs in this same year where she was making a lot of change, and I got an email about I'm not exactly sure what the correct word for it is, but the organization, I guess, or just services that she advocated for at USA's to provide childcare for athletes who were parents. And I got an email about if I needed childcare while I was competing, that this service was now provided for us. I just got chills saying that. And she did that.
That's huge.
She literally changed the running world.
That's
and she
incredible.
Still is, but yeah, she's amazing.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up this episode of Hustle and Harmony, but thank y'all so much for joining us, and make sure you leave some questions on our Q&A on our Instagram so that we can answer them for you next week, and we will talk to y'all again soon.
We'll be back. Bye, Cult Team. Love y'all.
Bye. Thank y'all so much for listening to this episode of Hustle and Harmony.
Please leave us a 5-star review or comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on socials at Julia Cole Music and at Emily Cole.
We'll love you forever either way, and we can't wait to see y'all next week.
See y'all then.